When I grew up, I actually grew up playing guitar. I was in bands, I did classical guitar, I went to competitions. My guitar focus and my musical focus, I learned how to read music, so I was really into it. That kept me off the streets. That kept me off of bad influences. There were some bad influences that were starting to get into my life, but I would always go to my guitar studio and I'd always be around positive people.
At the time I was very, very small, I was told, Josh, you got to go to school. Go to school, get good grades, go to college. I was the first one in my family to actually complete college. And so I just did what I was told. I grew up as a soldier, if you think about it. I was a good soldier, right? Everything I was told to do, I did. And then 20 years into corporate America, 20 years of doing the right thing. One day I found out that everything I thought was right wasn't so right.
The Dow tumbled more than 500 points after two pillars of the street tumbled over the weekend.
My wife lost her job in 2008, and that was a hard time because we were dual income, and she lost her job. And look, it happens, right? So we said, you know what? We need help with the mortgage. We actually applied for the assistance program through the government and through Wells Fargo, and it turns out that we kind of got lied to. I won't go into the details, but we fought to keep our house for 2 years and we weren't able to keep it. It went into foreclosure. We tried to pay it off. We said, we'll give you all the money that we owed you because we've been saving up, and they just kept rejecting it. Every time we sent in a mortgage payment, they were rejected back. Sorry, you're in foreclosure, nothing you can do. And we lost the house. And that was actually out in Oregon. That was our first place out in Oregon. Because unfortunately, we bought it at the height of the market when we moved out there in 2006. And then that was about 2010, everything we put into it was gone. And we had to go get a rental and just kind of restart everything and realize, look, what's done is done, and move forward. So that was not a fun time, but it was definitely something that threw us a kind of a curveball in life. And it turns out my wife actually hasn't even worked since that time. She hasn't had to. We've been able to make ends meet. We've made some adjustments to our personal budget. I started making more money. I got out into other things, and she's been blessed. She's been able to stay home and take care of the household and the cats and all that.
When I left bodybuilding, right, I was done with that side of things. I was done with the selfishness of the sport, and I wanted something new. And this is important here. The reason I actually got into bodybuilding in the first place is because I was going to the gym, I was working out, I was getting in better shape, but I didn't know why I was going. I was just kind of like going, and it was like, okay, yeah, I like being in better shape, but it wasn't a very compelling reason. And then someone says, hey, have you ever tried bodybuilding? And I was like, no, I'm not really, it doesn't sound like something I'd be interested in. And they kind of talked to me about it for quite a while, and they said, just give it a shot. And I said, you know what, I'm gonna give it a shot, and here's why. Because it's a goal.
I was born in Miami, so I always say, soy el gringo de Miami. I'm the gringo from Miami. Not Latino at all, but I feel that's kind of like in my heart a little bit. But I grew up in Broward County, and like I said, just very average, ordinary, middle-class family being raised. And from there I ended up going to school up at University of Central Florida, and I took engineering classes. I became an electrical engineer and got into semiconductor design. So he told me, actually I remember this to this day, when I was about 7 or 8 years old, he says, you're not going to understand this right now, but I'm telling you, before you're 40 years old, you'll become an entrepreneur. Like somehow he knew that. He knew in me that I was going to become that entrepreneur. And sure enough, about 34 years old, I became an entrepreneur. I actually owned a gym in the gym industry. The closest thing I guess I got to entrepreneurial experience was investing in the stock market, because my grandfather taught me how to invest. And so that was my first foray into really like building something for myself. And then every day I go over to my grandfather's place, we would open up the paper, because back then, again, no internet, open up the paper, we look up the stock symbol, hey, how did it do today? And we would check it and we would watch it. And he was the first person to teach me about money and to teach me about compound interest and how things grow.
So Josh Zeppes, the author, has a couple books out. The first book is called Adulterated. It's how we pummel success out of our kids. So it's based on the premise that we're born for greatness. We're born with every trait we need to succeed. And then little by little, school, society, teachers, parents, not out of malice, but almost out of incompetence, they teach us a bunch of things that actually make us give up on all the success traits. And then we get out into adulthood and we struggle, and we wonder why. So Adulterated is a challenge to adults to rekindle their youth. Remember all those traits you had when you were younger, all those dreams, all that drive, all that innocence, all that ability that everything was possible. To rekindle that and go after what you want to go after. That's the first book. The latest book is called Slap Yourself, and it's the 12 most important questions you never asked yourself and how the answers can actually save your life. So this book is about the fact that I truly believe that we have all the answers we need. We already know the answers. We're not asking the right questions. So I put together a book that actually asks the questions we need to ask so that we can gain that awareness piece, so we can figure out what we want to do in life, how we want to monetize our value, what's important to us, our personal mission statement, all these things. So this book kind of guides someone through those questions, and these are tough questions it asks. But if you don't know the answer to these questions, you're probably going to have a very tough life.
Welcome to 1 Million Cups Orlando. My name is R.C. Williams.
And I'm Julie.
One of the organizations I'm very proud to be a part of and to support is called 1 Million Cups. And it's based out of Kansas City. It's the Kauffman Foundation. And they wanted to create a system of helping entrepreneurs improve what they do. So 1 Million Cups is all about putting a couple people up in front of the room, in front of maybe 50, 60, 70 other entrepreneurs and business owners. They pitch their idea and they get feedback from an engaged audience. They get good advice, they make connections. So it's just basically like a guppy tank, right? It's not the Shark Tank, but it's like a guppy tank. So Binge TV is going to be the Netflix of personal development. And it's an open platform. So we're gonna throw some, Broke is No Joke is gonna throw some programs out there as an example, but we're gonna invite other people, other motivational folks, other inspirational folks, other people with a good message. We're going to invite them, and we want this to be something you can always turn to for help. One of the first programs we're going to be bringing onto Binge TV is called Showing Aces. So the show is about getting into the mindset of a one percenter, how they think, what do they do, how do they overcome challenges. Because here's the thing, here's the whole challenge of Showing Aces, is to challenge you as the viewer to not be mediocre in every aspect of life. So one of the big pushes for Broke is No Joke is something I call Escaping the Rat Race. And what we've developed is a 100-day program, knowing that you have a cage around yourself, understanding all those things you were told about why you can't escape, exposing the myths about money, about career, you know, the safe, secure job thing we get stuck in. Your 401ks can retire you, which it won't. You know, money's the root of all evil, or money's bad, or money can't make you happy, and all this stuff we're told about money that keep us broke. I've always had music in my heart, in my soul. The reason I got into spoken word is I was sitting with a friend of mine, and have you ever heard of spoken word? I'm like, no. So I go look it up, I learn more about spoken word, I'm like, I could do this. This is called Money Myth. Once upon a joy, Tommy, a nice boy, begged his mom for a toy. Mom finally annoyed. Honey, I ain't made of money, she says with her $1 million smile. So I started doing it, and it was fun. It was fun, and I love the art. I really appreciate the form of expression. But there's something about it that just didn't fit right with me. But what I do appreciate is when someone's willing to talk truthfully about issues, when they're really ready to expose the truth about an issue and then come up with a way to help us out of it. So that's kind of what drove me to kind of veer off the spoken word into something I call broken word.
To drop them tissues and raise the issue, the refusal to excuse all who advocate, all that they advocate.
even Marianne would say we're not too in that place. So it might be the light in us that's right.
You can punch in, right? So like
Yeah.
like when I'm hearing you do some stuff that's like a little bit more
So I'm trying to
articulate, like where you're doing like
Yeah.
maybe almost a triple.
still complain about things we hate, still losing from all the excuses, still scared of our greatest desires, still.
I got a ways to go. I got a ways to go. That's all right.
And I feel like
Yeah.
I got the message. Just gotta figure out how to get it out there.
the life you envision, a little piece of heavenly submission, the competition to escape the prison inside indecision, reprecondition. So Broken Word is a platform, and what I'm excited about Broken Word is because it's two things. It's a big stage for spoken word, hip hop, and rap here to start with in Orlando. Here in Orlando, there's so many talented people, and they just don't have the big stage. They don't have the exposure that they need to get that talent out there. So be sure to check us out all over social media at Broke Is No Joke. You got Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, YouTube, all the above. You see Broke Is No Joke, that's us. Make sure you like and subscribe and stay in contact with us because we got a lot of stuff dropping here this next year.